Hi, it's Rod, and this one's called God's Way to Success and Happiness. Well, simplified, God's way to success and happiness would be to believe in His truth and obey Him. Do what Jesus tells you to do with His power to do it. Let Jesus do what He wants to do through you. Then God will reward you with spiritual happiness. A plus B equals C, so a little kid could understand it. God's way to success and happiness. Believe in God's truth. I need to get saved through the cross of Jesus Christ. I need to read the Bible to learn truth from God. I need to meditate on truth day and night so my way will be successful. I need God's spiritual happiness to be happy, even in suffering physical experiences. It's like when you make God happy, then He makes you spiritually happy. When you make God happy, you make yourself happy. Yes, Jesus, what do you want to do now? You get busy doing it. He gets happy. He shares that spiritual happiness as a reward for you. And then when you get to heaven, you can get rewarded for this obedience to Him. If you want to try to find your happiness Satan's wrong way, it's all about selfish physical pleasure, which doesn't make you very happy, and then no rewards in heaven for that. God doesn't reward selfish sinful behavior with spiritual happiness. It's like get close to Jesus, do what He says to do. In His presence is a fullness of joy. It's sort of like you got to wake up every day and say something like, I want to party with my best friend Jesus today. I want to have an awesome joy-filled time with my best friend Jesus today. It's possible. You could have it if you want to. If you want to obey Jesus or believe God's truth in your conscious mind or your subconscious mind, He could fill you with the reward of perfect spiritual peace, of fullness of spiritual joy, of kind of grace and comfort that's greater than any suffering. You'd be in a fiery furnace and still be full of joy with Jesus. You'd be getting your head cut off with a guillotine and still be full of joy with Jesus. You could be dancing with Jesus around World War III on the TV set. It's Satan trying to stop you. Whenever you try to believe God's truth or obey Him, Satan tries to stop you. But you can win your spiritual war against Satan. You don't have to be defeated by him. Adam and Eve started to choose to believe in Satan's lies and were defeated by him. I think I need the fruit from the tree of knowledge to be happy, my physical pleasure or something. Not obeying God to stay away from Him. And they suffered for it. Jesus said, I want God's spiritual happiness. I don't want food, Satan. Get away from me. And that's what's going on in our life too. Do we want to listen to what Satan's telling us about how to be happy and successful? Get as many selfish pleasures as you can get, and that'll make you happy or something, or sin against God will make you happy or something. It's all lies. That's why we have to choose to believe in God's truth in our mind. The truth is, I need to believe in God's truth and obey Him to be happy, and He'll reward me for believing in this truth and obeying Him with spiritual happiness. That's what I need, spiritual happiness, not a pizza, not some drugs. Not a movie on Netflix. Obeying Jesus, even to do suffering love things, and get rewarded with spiritual happiness. That will make me happy. No, Satan, not your way. Yes, Jesus, your way. It's like I get this vision sometimes. I'm sitting on the couch with Jesus. I'm looking at the TV set, and Satan's over by the TV set. And he's got like a whiteboard with all my sufferings and problems on it, Rod's suffering list or something. And he's pointing to something like World War III on the TV or something. And he's trying to say to me, God can't be good if you're suffering. You can't be happy if you're suffering. God's supposed to be like a genie. You're not supposed to be suffering. How can you be happy in World War III? How can you be happy with back pain or something? And I got to turn to Jesus and say, well, what is the way to success and happiness? Obeying me, Rod. It's not through getting all these selfish, sinful pleasures or whatever. It's not about being unhappy because it's World War III or great tribulation judgment times on the wicked now. I control it all. It's like I had a vision. I was on a park bench. I asked Jesus, what does the future look like, Jesus? And he said to me, economic collapse, famine, rioting, apostasy in World War III. And I thought, well, that doesn't sound too good. And then I go into a vision of dancing with Jesus around World War III, and people are getting shot and killed and a lot of suffering. And I looked at Jesus when I'm dancing with him, and he says to me, don't let it bother you, Rod. I control this. Jesus ain't out of control when the world is going evil and crazy with Satan or whatever. He's in full control of it. Like Satan's like a puppet for Jesus or whatever. Jesus controls it all, whether it's all my problems and sufferings on a whiteboard, whether it's World War III. If you want to do what Jesus tells you to do, with his power to do it, believe his truth, not Satan's lies, you can be successful and spiritually happy right now. You don't have to wait till you get some selfish, sinful pleasure to try to think you're happy with it. More money, more sex, more drugs, more TV or something. A better world to live in. A better church to go to. Getting married, that'll make you happy. Type stuff. No, it's getting closer to Jesus and do what he tells you to do, whether you're married or single, whether you're in World War III or not in World War III yet. That type of thing. God's way to success and happiness is obeying him to do what he tells us is best to do. Get saved through the cross of my son Jesus from your sins. Satan says you don't need to get saved or you're good enough to save yourself or something, so you won't get saved. God's truth, not Satan's lies. I do need to get saved through Jesus' death on the cross to be successful or happy. Then do what God tells you to do once you're saved. Read the Bible. Let me teach you truth from it. I'll teach you my way to have success and happiness. Like the Bible's like a success manual or a how to be happy manual, if we want to read it. Satan doesn't want us reading it. Learning truth. Learning God's way to success and happiness. Trying to teach that to anybody else. That's why there's hardly any good teachings on it. Hardly anybody understands it. Or can teach it to anybody else, because they're all following Satan down his wrong way to success and happiness instead. And you can't teach anybody something you don't know yourself first. Parent of a child, school teacher, church leader. So, people that are successful and happy God's way get saved through the cross. They read the Bible and learn truth. They're trying to teach truth to other people. They're trying to do church like the book of Acts. Obedient, scriptural way to do church or something. They're filled with spiritual joy and peace. They're trying to teach others how to be happy and successful God's right way. But there's not too many people doing that today. I can want to do church like the book of Acts, but I can't force anybody else how to do it or something. But that's obedience to God. Tell them to obey God even if they don't want to obey God. It's sort of like a prophet from the Old Testament telling people to obey and they don't want to listen to them. It's like I've been trying to tell people for about 36 years since being a Christian, you need to get saved. No, I don't. I'm trying to tell Christians you need to do church like the book of Acts. No, I don't. They're either not saved yet because Satan's lying to them about how to be successful or happy, or they're not obeying God yet because Satan's lying to them about how to be successful and happy. Demon-controlled, unsaved people, demon-controlled Christians or something, ready to apostatize if they don't repent. And that's the way the world is. It's like Jesus said a few enter the kingdom of heaven. What's that, 10% or something? About 90% choose to follow Satan into hell. But you can obey Jesus even if nobody else wants to. You can have a party with Jesus today. Have an awesome, joy-filled time with Jesus today. Believe in His truth, obey Him today if you want to. You could be successful and happy God's way today even if nobody else wants to be. So you got to think of it like, when I think of what it was like from the 1950s to the 2020s, I think of it as a dangerous rich man going to hell society. People are trying to find their success Satan's wrong way. Dropping dead and going to hell forever. Else we would have seen Book of Acts churches. Else we would have seen people teaching God's way to success and happiness, full of spiritual joy and peace. And trying to do church like the Book of Acts in a loving way. But because they sort of like wanted to listen to Satan, it's sort of like Satan dressed up in a Jesus costume they follow. The false Jesus says, do church for an hour on Sunday and everybody sit down and shut up and get back to your selfish pleasures after the church service is over. That type of stuff. Don't do church like the Book of Acts. Okay, Jesus, or the false Jesus or something. So, if we want to be successful and happy God's way, we got to learn how to understand our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. It's like our subconscious mind are the things we've learned since we were born that are kind of hidden from us. Our conscious mind is something that we're sort of like awake to or understand what's happening in it. It can think of about 5 things at once, and then if you try to think about a 6th thing, you forget one of the other 5 things. So we got to try to keep it aimed at God's truth, and like Satan tries to attack us and tries to get us to believe his lies in our subconscious mind or our conscious mind, distract it from God's truth about how to be successful and happy. So it's like you need about 5 powerful truths your conscious mind focused on. God is good and loving. God controls everything. You can't trust God unless He's in control of everything. God can help you through your problems and sufferings. God can work them out for your good. God can make you happy spiritually in your sufferings. And believing God's truth and obeying God is the way to success and happiness. If you can keep your mind focused in on that. It says in the Bible, meditate on God's truth day and night, and then your way will be successful and happy. If we do things God's way, learn truth, keep our conscious mind on truth, what is the way to happiness? It is believe in Jesus' truth and obeying Him. A lot of times we don't know what's in our subconscious mind unless God reveals it to us. If we have bad emotions, it's revealing we got bad beliefs. If we have good emotions, it reveals we got good beliefs. So if we're starting to have bad emotions, fear, depression, anger, we got to correct that, or let Jesus help us to correct it. What lies am I believing from Satan? What truth do I need to change that to believe in instead so that I can get back to getting my success and happiness your way, Jesus, through obeying you and you rewarding me with spiritual peace and spiritual joy, regardless of the suffering circumstances I'm in. Like it says in Psalm 23 that don't fear death. Jesus, like a good shepherd, will lead you through it and comfort you through it. God's comfort is greater than any suffering on earth. Fiery furnaces, guillotine beheadings like John the Baptist or something. Rat-infested prison living like Paul. So you got to understand that believing truth equals good emotions and good actions, acting more like Jesus, loving. Believing lies as Satan equals bad emotions, fear, depression, and anger, and bad, selfish living or something like Satan. So it's about trying to ask Jesus what's best to do now. Get an answer back, start doing it. With His power to do it, Satan will try to stop you, but you just keep, Jesus says keep doing it, you keep doing it, He gives you strength to do it. And you don't have to wait to have the spiritual happiness. You can have the spiritual happiness before you do anything, while you're doing something, and after you do something. It's not about accomplishing tasks to feel good. It's about doing whatever Jesus tells you to do. Give a kid a drink of water. Fullness of spiritual joy. Do the dishes. Fullness of spiritual joy. Go out and preach the gospel and see 10 people get saved. Fullness of spiritual joy. It's not like you can get a little bit of joy if you do this and a lot of joy if you do that or something. You do what Jesus is telling you to do now. Go to sleep. You can be full of peace and joy. If he says stay awake and pray, then you got to stay awake and pray. You don't care about the suffering because the spiritual joy and the spiritual comfort's helping you through it. It's like when Jesus is getting happy with you, allowing him to live through your body, he makes you happy. What do you want to do through this body now, Jesus? We're in a boat. God's way to success and happiness and try to teach it to others. Let's do it. Okay. And if I'm doing the dishes next, I can be just as joyful doing that. Like a friend or something. You both want to do something together and your fellowship together creates a joy. And Satan wants to destroy all that. Don't care about Jesus. Play God yourself. Selfish, pleasure's the way to happiness. And people believe that lie or whatever. So it's like thinking about Adam and Eve. They listened to Satan, tried to find happiness his way. It didn't work out for them. King David listened to Satan, tried to find happiness through adultery and murder. It didn't work out for him. John the Baptist, I'm going to obey God even if I get my head cut off. It worked out for him. Jesus, I'm going to obey God even if they try to crucify me to stop me. Worked out for his good. Paul, I'm going to obey God and be in a rat-infested prison persecution, and God's going to work it out for good for me. Paul said from a rat-infested prison, be joyful always. Now, do we want to obey God to be joyful always? Do we want to party with Jesus always? This is the way to success and happiness. Obeying Jesus, making him happy. He makes you happy spiritually. But very few people want to believe that today. And that God's like your perfect bodyguard that never sleeps, and your perfect caregiver. Whatever you need, he can feed you and clothe you or whatever. He's not like a genie that just gives you all your selfish pleasures to make you happy, though. You can be suffering. Love gets the greatest rewards in heaven. And still be full of joy. You can be Joni Eareckson Tada in a wheelchair, and God's not healing you out of it, but you can be full of joy in the wheelchair, doing what Jesus is telling you to do in the wheelchair. I could have back pain or other problems, but if I'm doing what Jesus is telling me to do, I can have spiritual joy and peace doing it. I don't have to listen to Satan, oh, God can't be good because I got a back pain now, or God can't be good because something broke down or something. No. Jesus controls it all. Jesus can make me happy in it spiritually. Jesus can help me fix things or whatever. So we need to examine our emotions. Do I believe in God's way to success and happiness? Am I spiritually happy now? Am I obeying Jesus now? And if you're not, then you got to correct that in your subconscious mind or your conscious mind. And say, Jesus, what's best to do now? What do you want to do now? Get busy doing it with the power to do it. And then this spiritual joy and peace. I wouldn't be a Christian unless I had this happiness being a Christian or something. And on your way to heaven for great reward. So the future looks like a lot of suffering, judgment on the wicked. If you don't get your conscience right on how to be happy in suffering, you're not going to be able to handle it very well. Satan will get you to apostatize or whatever. But if you want to believe Jesus is truth and do what he's telling you to do through a tribulation or something, you can be happy going through the tribulation. You can be dancing with Jesus around the guillotines. You can be dancing with Jesus in the fiery furnace, whatever you got to go through. In a rat-infested FEMA camp or whatever. Jesus wants it, so do you. And he can work good out of it for you through it. He didn't rescue Daniel out of slavery in Babylon or Joseph out of slavery in Egypt. He helped him through it. I can go through a satanic world empire slavery today. It doesn't have to bother me. What do you want to do now, Jesus? Like a Moses. You're like a Superman with a super God living inside you. The wicked world could chase you to the Red Sea, but God can drown the wicked enemies or whatever. Then you be joyful, no matter what's going on. So that is really what God's way to success and happiness is about. And if we choose to believe it, we can feel very successful and happy God's way. So that's a bit about God's way to success and happiness.